Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about tool safety. Now this is one that has several parts here. One, we deal with hand tools and we deal with electric tools. So that's definitely going to be part of the two different sides of this and what we're looking at. And then we deal with kind of like three different parts. We deal with the possibility of damage from outside forces. Let's say it's electrical problems connecting up with electricity, having electrical issues, and also the repetitive damage and just damage the tool itself can cause you from being thrown into things and all kinds of issues like that, or actually cutting yourself. So starting out kind of with hand tools. Hand tools kind of break into kind of two different philosophies I have here, which is live wire and non-live wire. So making sure we have the proper tool for the job we're going to be doing, okay? Meaning that if I'm going to be working on live electrical circuits, I want to make sure that I have tools that are rated for 1,000-volt ratings. Tools that actually are rated right on them. They'll say what they're rated to. You know, this one says 1,000-volt right on here. This one says 1,000-volt right on there. Now, what I do like about the Klein tools over some of the other tools in this area, not saying you have to have them, is that they have a protective coating on top of a protective coating. So this outside orange coating is your actual use coating, and the actual white coating is underneath there, which means if you tear through the outside coating, you'll see the white underneath. So that's really important. So, and like this particular tool allows you to be able to switch out and flip between the two tools, so you don't have to have both of them on you if you need that. But we definitely want to be using tools designed for the job we're doing. Then again, not making sure that our tools aren't wore out. Do we have tools that are literally just not doing anything at all because they're so far wore out? Really nice tools that are out there now. This particular brand here, and there's lots of different versions out there, so I don't want to get too much into brands, but just in the job of themselves, is ones that are designed to take away from your twisting factor, your carpal tunnel, your arthritis type problems. These really, really do work. Definitely keep an eye out for these guys. Making sure that you're using tools that are going to help you prolong your career. When it comes to hammering tools, so everybody's got a screwdriver they use to bash into the stucco and other things like that as needed, or to tighten up lock nuts or any of those other items. Making sure that we're buying a tool that's designed for that purpose. Now this particular tool is the bashing screwdriver from Milwaukee, and it comes with a hard tip on the back just like a chisel, and a hardened tip in the front for pounding. It's designed for that purpose. Using a regular screwdriver that doesn't have that metal top on there, this can shatter. Parts of the screwdriver can fall apart. You can hurt yourself that way. Now, as far as this being, now here's the other problem though. Using this in an electrical panel, you now have a direct metal conduit all the way through. You connect up with a live wire here, you're going to fill it on this side. So this would not be suitable for working on electricity. Keep that in mind. Another thing that's kind of cool out there is the new plier systems out there that are used for gripping. So this has the ability to grip down as we pull down and actually tightens up. This is going to help you grip and not wear out your hands all through the day. Again, we don't want arthritis by the time we're 20 years old. So getting the right tool, making sure it is properly suited for the situation, and the right size. So there's multiple sizes of Phillips. There's not just one Phillips. There's 1, 2, 3, 0, number 4, which don't use that much, but finding the tool that fits the situation you're using. It could be using a tip that's designed specifically for electrical. It's like a Phillips flathead style tip. Find the tool, use the tool that's for the job. When it comes to cutting implements, this is one that hurts a lot of people because they're constantly stripping wire, things like that. And that's definitely going to be an issue that you might see down the road. We want to make sure our tips our knives are sharp, ready to be used. We don't want to have to put so much pressure on there. We run the risk of actually hurting ourselves. Definitely something we want to think about, okay? When it comes to bending wire, this is a real thing that I think a lot of people don't see people getting hurt in. But bending wire, there is specialty tools out there just for bending heavy duty cable, all the way up to 750 MCM. Bending number 14 wire, really super easy. Bending 750 MCM, very, very tough. Using the appropriate tools is well worth it. Invest in these guys. Greenlee makes them. This is a Klein. You know, these are made by, you know, a couple different companies here. Let's see here. Well, Bendall. So this is another company that makes products for bending wire. You're actually going to put the wire in there and be able to twist it with a ratchet and bend it over. So a real cool tool. This one comes in a set. One's facing one way, one's facing the other. You can actually get in there and actually bend the wire around. It is very, very useful. Greenlee makes a ratcheting set, definitely worth having. When it comes to stripping wire, you know, stripping wire is definitely one of those things that we have the ability to do. There's lots of power strippers out there nowadays and actually hand twisting varieties that will help with that particular feature, okay? Now, when it comes to cutting wire is always great. These are great. Instead of having the big ones that you can ratchet, you know, you got to pull in. And actually, I used to get bruises on my chest from pulling it on my chest. Ratcheting cutters are great, but doing this 30,000 times a day, trying to get through all that wire is going to be tough. Nowadays, with the inventions of power cutters, takes all the stress out of your body. Definitely something I recommend if you're going to do a lot of big wire type applications, and they come with lights, which is really nice. When it comes to when we're feeding wire through live pipes and things like that, or what pipes that already have wire in them, a fiberglass fish tape or poly fish tape like this one is a must. If not, you know, it must be done when you're doing that. So anytime we're dealing with when we already have wires in the pipe, or if we're dealing with wires that are already activated, we want to make sure we're using that kind of fiberglass fish tape, and these are very popular right now. You can get them in 100, 150, and 200 foot lengths, pretty much anything you need. They do work very well, one of those things. When it comes to nail guns are one I see all the time where people pin back the guards. This is a OSHA violation. It's no longer legal to do so. We must have to push down, then pull the trigger. Making sure that on the back of this particular one, it has two different settings. We can either run it in full auto, basically meaning that every time I hit the button, I can hold the trigger down and I can hit it, and it will shoot a nail for every time, or single. When you're in tight areas, things like that, just use the single. There's no reason to have it constantly going that way. Watch the people that are around you. If you've got some guys on your crew that have never done this before, and they're trying to watch you guys do it, that's been doing it for 20 years, bouncing along, I watch guys go straight through their hands that way. When it comes to cutting tools are really important. One, we need to leave the guards on. We need to pick a blade that is not only designed for the material we're using, but is the right length. Would this be the right length of blade if I'm only cutting a 1/2 inch piece of pipe? It's not. So we really need to watch that. Make sure we're not using too long of a blade or too short of a blade that's actually causing maybe the tool to kick back on us. When it comes to skill saws, rotary type tools, a few things. Making sure we're using the right battery for the job. A tiny little battery, maybe something I'm running on this, impact, maybe just fine for the impact. It doesn't give enough power to one of the skill saws. So most of your skill saws will be rated for 5 amp hour batteries. This particular one is running a 9 amp hour. I really like this size battery. It works very, very well. They're a little heavier, but they do work. And then being able to pick a saw that is facing the side that you want it to. If we're cutting rail and things like that, I like it off to the left-hand side, so spitting all the chips out that way. But when I'm actually using it as a skill saw, I want to be able to see that blade. And this one does have the light on it. You'll see down in here, we have the light. We have the guard here, making sure that guard is coming all the way back. Our main plate is straight and level and no broken parts on there. We want to make sure that all our guards are ready to go and are serviceable. If we're going to be removing the blades, we need to make sure we unplug the tools or take out the battery. Same thing with our saws, same thing with all the tools. If we're going to be doing any maintenance, we want to shut them down, properly tag them out, lock them out any way we can, and then get that done. Now when it comes to skill saw blades, one thing I always look for, I examine all these tools every day before I use them. I want to look and see, is there any blade tips, the carbide tips on the blade that's popped off. 1 or 2 of those pops off, that blade's got to go. You know, as soon as you notice that, that's a blade that's about ready to pop off. Those things are spinning at 4,000 RPMs, that thing takes off. They'll embed in your skin pretty well. Another thing I look for is a nice ladder hook, or a rafter hook, so I can hook it on and keep it up so I'm not having it fall off the job or fall off the roof. When it comes to rotary tools, as far as grinders wise, they make a bunch of different ones right now, diamond blades and these metal type blades for working on metal. I've switched over from the abrasive wheels to these metal wheels. They cut a little slower, they last a lot longer, and much less chance of it snapping off and flying into your face. Also leaving the guard in place. You know, so if we need to move the guard around, we can, but the guard needs to be left on the tool so it can properly be used. You know, and I do like these big giant, you know, make sure you're leaving your guards on the bottom here, not locking them out. When it comes to our tools like this looks just like your normal, everyday multi-tool. The one thing about this one is the motor is actually separated from the inside tool. So where I'm gripping and where the motor's vibrating, it's loose up here. And you'll think, oh my gosh, it's broke. It's not broke. It has actually had the separation so it doesn't vibrate your hand as bad. So that kind of gets us into our next one. So what can we have? We can have the tools actually damage us. We can have the electricity shock us. But repetitive damage is a real thing. So we don't want to have the blades popping off and hitting us in the face, but repetitive damage can be as dangerous over time as anything else. So these tools are designed for anti-vibration. You know, some of the tools here, like this Sawzall, has anti-vibration technology in it. So when I pull the trigger, the tool doesn't move because it's got balance on both sides, and it's not jiggling your hand to death. You know, using a bandsaw where it need be. This is the one tool I highly recommend everybody get, which was made across the board. Milwaukee makes them, DeWalt makes them, everybody makes them, Ryobi even makes them, is the hydraulic impact guns. So these are a non-metal to metal impact, so meaning that they won't make as much noise and won't vibrate your hand as bad as a metal to metal impact. And for 99% of everything we do, these work great. I haven't really, you know, I have the other version in there. It still looks brand new after 10 years. I just never touch it anymore. I run these guys. They last longer. They put less vibration in your hand, less noise. We're not having to worry about wearing an ear protection if the tool is rated for that. So watch and look and see what your decimal rating is on that. So highly recommend that. Less vibration. You want to be able to keep working at this stuff for a long time, guys. When we get into our drills, the one thing I see a lot of people do is switching into low gear to be able to turn those big bits. Well, that low gear can really jerk on you and hurt yourself. We've had people actually throw their shoulders out. I've had all kinds of problems like this. This is another one, picking the tool that is going to work best for you. Instead of shifting this down into low, getting a tool that is designed for that. So this is the whole hog. They're brushless, they're awesome. The old version of this had a high and low. This one only has just a high gear. 2 handles, it's meant to be held both hands. You have much more surface area to really grab onto and have a lot more leverage. But what's really nice is if this one locks up, it's not going to throw you out a window. Their bigger version, the Super Hog, actually has a built-in brake that when it locks up, it's not going to throw you out the window. I've had people thrown out windows, I've been thrown up against walls. Shoulders popped out, all kinds of things. Buy the new tools with the safety features built into them. Pick the one that's best for you. All right, guys, well, I'm hoping this helps. But like I said, keep in mind those 3 things. You know, is an electric safety issue? Is the tool itself going to hurt us? Do we need to make sure the guards are on there? Do we need to make sure the blades aren't going to pop off and hurt us? And then getting into that repetitive damage. Keep all 3 of those in line, and you'll stay safe. So as always, guys, have a great day. Please leave questions and comments down the bottom. We'd be happy to answer them. And we'll talk to you later.